Bad decision making. You could argue more questions than answers in central midfield, and some of our biggest players just being out of sorts. Let's try and unravel what was a pretty bad and devastating, the way it ended, afternoon down in Selhurst Park, with Liverpool just round the corner. If you're curious, Newcastle fans, do us a favour and make sure you stick around for a lovely little dollop of black and white banter. Welcome back to Black and White Banter, ladies and gentlemen, and that is maybe for large parts of this video as positive as you are going to hear me in the tone of my voice, how I speak. I am outside St James's Park though. I have come over, lovely, look at the weather, look, and I've got my selfie stick in my hand. No microphone today though, that's missing in action at the moment, so if you are struggling to hear this, I apologise. I shall do my best to talk nice and loud. Look, pretty bad, wasn't it, on Saturday afternoon down in Selhurst Park? Pretty bad. My first away game of the season that I missed, that's why there was no match vlog, and I was pretty happy in doing so, and it's not very often I say that. I don't like watching matches on the telly, but with the view you get at Selhurst Park, I felt bad for those fans who've spent, what, 7 hours there, 7 hours back, buses, trains from random destinations, because there was none from Newcastle, to watch a team just really, really struggle. It was a match that didn't really get going in the first half because of injuries. I'm not going to do a match reaction. I'm just going to summarise before I get into some key points. We never really got going in the final third. Second half, lovely little free kick move. One from the training ground, which was nice to see, puts us in the lead. And you're thinking, right, something to hold on to. Not the best day at the office, but can we stay resolute like we have been all season from winning positions? And we were so close. And there's nothing in football that is worse than the sucker punch of a last minute equaliser, and that's why I felt sorry for every single one of them amazing fans in that away end, but selfishly glad that I wasn't feeling that devastation on a long bus journey home. And it was a sucker punch, but did we deserve to win that football match? Not in a million Sundays. And let's look at some of the bigger reasons why. First up for me, look, there's lots of different points on this video I can talk about, but I'm going to try and break them down into what I see as some of the most important. There's going to be an inquest. I stay off social media normally when we don't win or play well, and I think that's better. That's good for my own mental health. But there's going to be an inquest, and rightly so. An XG of 0.02 as someone who loves a stat is embarrassing, and I'm going to say that bluntly. Embarrassing is not a word I use on many of my videos. Lots of people might be out there saying XG is a load of bollocks. Well, it's not. It's a stat based off how a team is performing and how many chances they are created and how many goals should come from those chances created during a match. 0.02 is the kind of form of a team that would finish with a record low points in the Premier League. That's how bad it is. That is really, really dire straits. And what do I see from that match on Saturday as being the main reason for that? Well, this is going to sound really vague. I'm going to try and give a bit more detail on the screen. Newcastle's decision-making at the moment from our key attacking players is just not there. And what I saw, particularly in that first half, was Newcastle players getting in good positions, good areas of the pitch up in Palace's half, and just not making the right decision with it. And again, like I say, I'm going to share some examples of that on the screen. Joe Linton running down the left-hand side, acres of space. He's got Willock overlapping and he whips in an awful ball. Again, just that right pass. Harvey Barnes, when he came on, who I thought on the right-hand side maybe give Eddie Howe a little bit of food for thought. A small positive that he did look bright in areas. When he cuts past his man to get a ball in the box, getting that final pass into the box right by just having a look up and seeing where Anthony Gordon is, seeing where Joe Linton is. Second half, Anthony Gordon, we'll talk about him. It's a 4-on-2 scenario when we 1-0 up. An amazing position to be in. Rather than passing the ball, Anthony Gordon tries to take a man on and he gets tackled. Sums up his season so far. The less said about that right now, the better we'll get onto him. But that was a very poor decision. Harvey Barnes not releasing Anthony Gordon and trying to almost take his man on when Gordon would have been in a one-on-one position. I'm not saying we would have scored from it, but these are all decisions that we are struggling with at the moment. We really, really are. And you are only going to score goals by making the right decisions in the hardest part of the pitch in the best league in the world, and that is the final third. I'm not for a second recording this video thinking we don't have the players to be making these correct decisions. Joe Linton has proved he can be that man. He's electric at times when he wants to be. Joe Willock has proved for us plenty times when he's actually been fit touch wood like he is now, that he is capable of making that right decision. Harvey Barnes has made a career out of scoring goals. Anthony Gordon last season registered double figures, assists and goals. But if we are going to continue making poor decisions in the final third, we are going to continue falling short. And that 0.02 XG score can't continue. And that's where I worry, because if I'm to break down who's at fault for players making bad decisions in these areas of the pitch, is confidence a key thing here? Yes, I think it is. Is our away form and us just not having that belief away from home, which, by the way, I am not saying is justified. I don't want anyone to dive in the comments and say, well, Matthew, that's a pathetic reason, get a grip. I'm not saying that's a good enough reason. I'm trying to pinpoint why we do at times see Newcastle play better against Man City. Brilliant. Arsenal, really up for it, really making better decisions in key areas. But against West Ham and Crystal Palace, in what has been an awful week, we are struggling to do that. I think confidence is a massive thing. I think Eddie Howe changing the team so much this season hasn't helped. Joe Linton now learning that left-hand side role almost all over again, whereas 2 seasons ago it's all he knew when we got Champions League football. Tonali coming in, Bruno playing a bit deeper, Willock suddenly being available for Newcastle again. I don't think that Isak has any relationship still with any of these midfielders behind him, and that kind of relationship is not only going to stop Isak being isolated, but it's going to free us up to creating chances. Little passes in and around the box, shots on goal, it's not there at the moment. And I just thought on Saturday our decision making was not good enough, and against Liverpool on Wednesday it has to be top order if we had to even think about getting anything. So those decisions, lads, need to improve. Right next up for me has got to be Anthony Gordon, and I talked about him on another video earlier last week, that his form needs to improve, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what's wrong. But I'm sorry, against Crystal Palace, particularly in that first half, I thought Anthony Gordon was awful. And again, I despise making these kinds of videos and making rash claims, but the amount he gave the ball away with passes where you would expect him to be able to find his man, just his decision making in general, going on to that chance in the second half when we had 4-on-2 and he tried to take his man on so half-hearted. His work rate looks different, his body language looks different, and look, it was a great move for the goal, I'm not denying that. It was lovely to see Gordon so passionate in his celebration, celebrating with the fans. Was that a bit of frustration that he knows he's not having a good season? Well, he's not an idiot, he actually seems a really intelligent player. But right now, I'm not for a second saying we should drop him. But sometimes dropping a player gives them a really good kick up the arse. And what I'm seeing with Gordon at the moment is when he seems to be on England duty, he's performing okay. He's not pulling up trees, but he scored his first goal. He's looking quite bright. Lee Carsley's giving him loads of opportunities. Why not for Newcastle? Why are we looking at a player? And again, I'm going to share some stats. These are all per 90 compared to last season. So just per 90, not compared to 38 matches to 13. That's not how I'm sharing these. Let's compare shots on goal. He's almost got 1 less shot on goal per game so far this season. Progressive carries. His progressive carries are less, which is interesting because of his take-ons are less. But those two stats are with basically the same amount of touches as what he had per 90 last season. So what does that tell us? That tells us that Anthony Gordon is playing differently. He's seeing the same amount of the ball, but he's not wanting to take a man on. He's not carrying the ball. Let's talk about the other end. Anthony Gordon's tackles per 90 are much less than last season. Basically, I'm going to summarise this. We all know he hasn't scored many goals or got many assists so far. Anthony Gordon's stats are all worse than last year. And that's a concern because we all love him, but sometimes with love there's a bit of honesty. And because we all think so much of the lad and we want him to do well, we all have to be honest that this player is not looking even half the player that he was last season. And that needs to sort itself out, because that for me is going to leave Eddie Howe with a decision to make. And I'm not for a second saying that Jacob Murphy should be coming in instead of Anthony Gordon. I think that would cause so many ripples with the fan base, and probably rightly so. But what's the answer? I don't think Anthony Gordon is being talked about enough because of who he is. And I think the sooner we do, there's a lot of players like that. That's football. The ones we love can avoid criticism, and he got that lovely assist against Arsenal. Do I think that saved him a little bit from criticism? I do. But generally speaking, his body language seems off, and when the stats back up that body language, that's a point of concern. Is it the new contract curse? since he signed that new contract. We saw it with St. Maximin, that one stands out for me, that as soon as the pen was put to paper, things seemed different. But against Liverpool, who was rumoured were after him, my God, does this lad need to improve. But wouldn't it be true Newcastle if every single player raised the game? And if that continues and we keep struggling against the West Hams and the Palaces, that's just going to fuel the fire of frustration for me. Something needs to change with him, it really, really does. Next up for me is Sandro. Ole, ole, ole. Yeah, let's talk about one massive positive, and I say massive positive in capital letters because that's what I feel like it was. Tonali came back in. I was panicking, thinking, why the hell is Eddie Howe trying Bruno and Tonali together again when it doesn't look like it's worked? But I thought it worked okay because Tonali looked every bit the player that I think we all know that he is, and that wasn't even him, in my opinion, at full pelt, because he is still learning the Premier League. He's played more minutes for Italy this season than what he has for Newcastle. So, of course, he is still going to be learning the pace and the power and the ferociousness of this league compared to Italy, where everything's slower. Still a quality standard of football playing for Milan in the Champions League, but at a slower pace. And I thought he mopped up things beautifully. His defensive work was good. His skill on the ball, there was one flick he did in the first half. I think it was over to Livramento. Didn't even have to think about it. Out of the feet instantly. And he saved us on a couple of occasions. I thought his work rate when Dan Burn cleared one off the line to get back was excellent. And a lot of Newcastle fans now are saying, right, is this the answer? Tonali in the number 6, Bruno further forward. Well, I'm going to contest that, and I'm still not so sure on that, and maybe that's my controversial Newcastle opinion, because I look at Bruno as a player who, by the way, I thought was totally off it yesterday. I didn't think he was at the races at all, and I think if we look at Bruno across the season, I thought we were getting a sharper one, and I've said it on videos, he was looking slimmer. I thought against Forest he played really well, but there's no good playing well in one game if you're not going to stay consistent. But Bruno as our central attacking midfielder, I'm still not so sure on. Yes, he's got creativity. Yes, he's capable of making things happen. But look at some of Bruno's best stats. What are they all centred around? Tackle percentage wins. Duels won. There's no, he's got one assist for Newcastle this season. One single assist from our Brazilian playmaker, some people might say. And this is a team that's registered 19 points. Yeah, we're not at it like we know we can be. A lot of players aren't. But Bruno to get one assist in a season where we've beat Arsenal, we've beat Forest, we've beat Wolves, lots of different things going on. I don't think Bruno's the answer further forward, and I think Eddie Howe still has to figure that out. I look at Bruno's stats for Brazil. I'm delighted he's playing, delighted he is, but all of his stats that get shared, duels won, his defensive work and his defensive stats don't lie. I'm not saying he should be a solid number 6 who sits in front of the back 4 by no means, but I do not think that Bruno playing higher up, we all know he's not very good at striking the ball. I would love to say that that he's a Brazilian who bangs one in the top corner on the regular. He has such a strange shooting technique for someone who would class himself as an attacking player, but we didn't sign Bruno from Lyon thinking he was going to score goals, and some of my fans might argue, well, look at Eddie Howe's first season, look at how he scored the winner against Leicester, goals against Arsenal. Maybe he does have that in his locker to be in and around the box a little bit more, but I do not think it's as simple as stick Tonali in the 6 and put Bruno further forward. Not to mention that Tonali is talked about is our best striker of the ball in training, and he's a very, very good player further up the field as well. You look at his assist for Italy more recently. My God, get the Yankee candles lit and close the curtains to watch that one again. I just don't think it's as simple as that, but certainly positives. Tonali needs to stay in the team against Liverpool. It's that work rate and quality that you need. You need your best players on the field against the best opposition. Simple as. But Bruno, let us know in the comments. Is he a straightforward attacking midfielder with that in mind? I'm not so sure. And one final point from me has got to be with that match in mind as well, Joe Linton's performance. Now look, we all love Joe Linton. He's probably my favourite Newcastle player. It's been nice to see him on a left-hand side of the attacking role. I do think he's integral. He's probably carried us for large parts of this season, just with his work rate and his energy and his passion alone. So I'm not going to get on the guy's back too much. But I think in the last week, which has been an awful week for Newcastle, him switching off, he just needs to improve in areas. I thought his decision-making in the final third yesterday wasn't very good. and it needs talking about, I think, for their equalising goal when you need everybody switched on until the last second to win an away match against a struggling Crystal Palace team. He didn't know what day of the week it was when that cross came in. Could Nick Pope have done better? Yes, I think he could. But again, if we are going to keep playing Joe Linton in the front of a final, in the left-hand side of a three, he needs to make better decisions. He needs to stay switched on with his defensive work as well, because Wan-Bissaka running through, I know Longstaff was mainly at fault for that one against West Ham, but Joe Linton wasn't great in that goal either. And I think he is someone who, if he's going to play where he's playing, needs to contribute a little bit more in the final third, because that's where that 0.02 XG is not going to go away unless things do change. But I think he just needs to stay a bit more mentally switched on, and that was really frustrating to see that he did not know where his man was in such an important part of the game to get us over the line to get 3 points. Newcastle fans, I could make a lot of different points here, I really could, but I'm going to go and sink. I've got a bottle of red wine waiting for me in the stack, Oggy, and I've got a beef joint waiting for me in the house, so I'm going to try and enjoy my weekend, because my God, have Newcastle United pissed all over my week and weekend this week. And doesn't it just, your football club takes over your life. I wasn't there on Saturday, which killed me off. I was grateful for it then, but we have to keep going. These group of players need to sort stuff out, because that XG score summed things up. No shots on goal away to a struggling Crystal Palace team who have improved but have been losing matches is point for concern when we've got Liverpool flying in the Champions League and the league coming to St James's Park on Wednesday. And the Premier League waits for no one, because we've got Brentford away on Saturday, where I will be back. So Newcastle fans, drop us your thoughts below. Try and keep them constructive. I don't want to see how out in the comments. If that's how you feel, that's fine. But please try and give me some comments of something constructive. There's plenty to be worked on. That's what I'm trying to talk about here. Not just, oh God, we're out of ideas, let's change manager. Eddie Howe's not going anywhere. I still believe in our manager, I do, but let's talk about what he can change and what needs to change with the players on the pitch as well. Please, for the love of God. Whack that like, whack that follow, whack that subscribe, get Black and White banter across all social media, and the videos will keep coming. I love every single one of you. Now go and try and enjoy. Maybe you're watching this at the start of the week, because there's a match not too far around the corner. Keep the faith. Win it!